Well, back here with Twin Spires coverage of the DRF and the NTRA's NHC. I'm joined by Mike Watchmaker of the Daily Racing Form. And Mike, back again, thanks for having us, and another great tournament, record number of contestants this year, and some interesting races today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of electricity in the air today. It's just got underway, and it's great, and the field is very strong. There are a lot of people that certainly have the credentials to win this, and as a member of the committee that picks the mandatory races, we try to make it as hard as possible for them to get that $500,000 check.
And so how do you go about picking the mandatory races? I know we have certain racetracks that you use for those races, but also weather played a little bit of a factor in it this year because of the storm in the Midwest.
It definitely did. We had gotten word that the weather was going to be bad at Oaklawn Park, and Oaklawn is one of the tournament tracks. And they are getting an ice storm there, but apparently not enough to cause cancellation. But there was a strong fear that they would lose the card, and we thought about it, and of course we wanted to have an Oaklawn mandatory race, but we didn't want to risk adding another layer of confusion by having a mandatory race and then have that track cancel. So that would have caused, a substitute mandatory race, and that could have been trouble for some people. So we decided to play it conservative and just not use Oaklawn on either today, Friday, or Saturday for a mandatory race. But certainly anybody who wants to play Oaklawn can do so in their elective races. And of course, weather was a factor at Fairgrounds too. It's raining there at Fairgrounds. It's supposed to rain again tonight. And so we worried about whether turf races would stay on the turf at Fairgrounds. So the races that we used at Fairgrounds were dirt races. We didn't want to risk using turf races, even though they had some very appealing turf races.
So even though you try to make it tough for these contestants to win, you also look to make it fair as well, so that the right races for bigger fields.
Yeah, well, what we're looking for is we're looking for difficult races. I mean, we're also looking for a good cross-section of races. There's so many things that go into it. First of all, the races have to fit time-wise. We don't want to get any closer than 9 minutes between races, because then you have a risk of, one track might run over, and you could literally have mandatory races run on top of each other, and that would be a bad thing. And we want it to fit time-wise. We want to be fair and spread the races out from a geographical sense, have an equal number of races from the East Coast and then from the West Coast, and of course fill in the Midwest with Fairgrounds. And we want a different kind of cross-section of races too. We want races that are run on dirt, races that are run on turf, cheap claimers, maiden claimers, and then good allowance races, and tomorrow we have a couple of stakes races. So we wanted a good cross-section. We want somebody who's successful in the mandatory races to be not necessarily a specialized handicapper, someone who's just good in sprint races or just good on turf. You have to be good in all aspects of this to succeed.
And that's how the people got here. They had to be very good at what they do, and that is handicapping, but it's not going to be easy, as it is a strong field here for this year's NHC.